I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Well, we're here on another Monday, and this is going to be a short Mail Call Mondays because we are getting ready for the Oregon Sniper Challenge, which is in the middle of the month. So there's a couple of weeks where I am dialing things in and getting prepped for the match. So we're going to try to make this short, but next week we are going to go into some detail on what I do to prepare for large matches that I have to fly out to. So make sure you guys look forward to that. Now, our first question of the week comes from DJ Bobby. He asks, what's the proper way to store your ammunition, metal ammo boxes versus plastic? Which is better, stacking ammo boxes in original box or just have ammo loose in ammo boxes? Silica packs versus nothing, and how long can you expect properly stored ammunition to last? Well, I'll take the last one first, Bobby. Properly stored ammunition will more than likely outlast you. If it's kept in a cool and dry place and it is sealed in a box, it is probably going to last for more than the average lifespan of a human being. Really, there is nothing for it to degrade once it's sealed off from outside atmosphere. With the current high-tech powders, I really can't intelligently comment on how long it would take those powders to break down. I can tell you that it's not something that I am worried about because I burn up ammo a whole lot quicker than that. I really don't have to worry about it lasting outside of my lifetime. But if today I loaded up a vast quantity of ammunition, I sealed the bullet and primers, packed it into an ammo box, and kept it in a cool, dry place, then my grandkids will probably be shooting that ammunition with their grandkids. So that's just something to keep in mind there. What is the proper way to store your ammunition? Well, metal or plastic ammunition boxes are fine because really all we're trying to do is keep the environment away from the ammunition. What I will say is make sure that it is a container that is designed to store ammunition. We don't want to put it into a sealed metal box that was not designed for ammunition storage because that can pose a hazard to, for instance, firefighters if they're trying to fight a fire that has engulfed your house. We really don't want to create a bomb. And when you seal pressure inside of a metal container and then it ruptures, it's going to rupture with incredibly high pressure and it's going to send shrapnel out, which could seriously injure firefighters. Storing it in metal containers, though, that are designed for ammunition to cook off inside of them is fine. Storing them in plastic containers that will allow that pressure to vent and not build up is fine as well. But the key thing is containers that are designed to store ammunition. Now, if you can store it in its original containers, the original packing cartons, the original cases that it came in, that's fine as well. But most of the original packaging for ammunition is cardboard, which means you're going to make sure that if you have a concrete floor, that it is elevated above the concrete floor so air can circulate underneath it and it won't build up moisture or mold on the bottom. And you want to make sure you're storing in a cool and dry environment. Cool and dry is the best condition to allow the chemicals that are involved in that ammunition to survive as long as possible. Cool and dry also prevents corrosion on the outside of the ammunition. If it's a hot, damp environment, that's the worst place that you can store ammo. So if you've got a yard barn that's hot and damp during the summer, don't stick your ammo out there. Ideally, store it inside the house in the same conditions that you exist in, and that's going to be relatively fine. Timothy asks, what do you do to prepare for upcoming competitions? Do you fly and do you worry about having to reconfirm your zero? Well, again, we're going to take care of the extended what I do to prepare for competitions next week. But as far as flying, I drive if at all possible. If the match is in the eastern half of the U.S., then I will generally drive to the match. It just allows me to take more gear with me and plan for more contingencies. I can take backup rifles, I can take extra gear, and it's just more comfortable for me to drive. I can pack snacks, coolers, etc. However, if the match is in the western half of the U.S., like the Oregon Sniper Challenge is, then it's really cost prohibitive and time prohibitive for me to fly to it. It'll take me about 2 days to get to Oregon and then 2 days back. Lots of extra gas, extra car rental, extra hotels. So it really ends up, it would almost double the cost of the trip if I drove to Oregon. but for closer in matches, I prefer to drive. It has nothing to do with a fear of flying. It has to do with an irritation of dealing with airports. So that's what I do on that. Now, as far as reconfirming my 0 on the rifle, if at all possible, I will reconfirm my 0 at the match, but I generally don't have to re-zero my rifle at the match. That's the benefit of working with extremely high quality equipment. I did have a match a couple of years back where I flew through Dallas-Fort Worth, and I watched a baggage handler pull my Pelican case off of the plane and hammer throw it across the tarmac. I think it actually bounced twice before it came to rest. I almost lost my mind when I saw that, but when I got to the match and pulled the rifle out of the Pelican case, it was perfectly zeroed. I didn't even have to fine-tune my 0. It was absolutely dead on at 200 yards. So I knew that the Pelican case absorbed all the impact of that, all the punishment, and didn't transfer any of it to the rifle. And that's one of the reasons I really like Pelican cases. I saw them beat to hell in the military. I've seen baggage handlers just do their best to destroy them, and they still keep the contents safe. Now, the case looks horrible after several times back and forth across the country, but I don't care what the outside of the case looks like. I care about the rifle itself. Now, next week we will talk a little bit more in depth into why my case looks the way it is and how I go about packing it for the flight. Matt asks, wanted to get your thoughts on proper age to start taking children to the range. I've had my 10-year-old with me several times and she just isn't interested in shooting sports. But my 3-year-old is my sidekick and begs me to take her every time she sees me loading up the gear bag. I know 3 is too young, but want to bring her in the next few years. Keep up the awesome work and advice. Well, thanks a lot, Matt. And the way I look at it is you are really the only one that knows if your child is ready to go to the range. What I look for in deciding if they're ready to go is how well do they take directions, how well do they pay attention. Now, obviously, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, that range, they are just huge balls of energy and they want to be running around and doing things all the time. So it's not realistic to expect them to sit still when you get to the range. But if they take directions, if they're able to do things that you tell them to do, and you think that they're going to be safe at the range, then that's time to maybe give them a try. Now, if you don't think your 3-year-old is ready to get out and shoot yet, then one thing that you can possibly consider is just making a field trip to the range with just you two and no guns, not going to shoot, just to go and demonstrate what the range environment is. If that goes well, then you may look into taking her out and taking a 22 or something of that nature and just go out for maybe 20 minutes and get her shooting it. Remember that at the young age, the retention spans are very, very, very short. So you can't go out and make it an all-day range event. They'll get bored, they'll start making bad choices, and then you'll have problems. One other thing to remember is that when you're taking a young child to the range, you are probably not going to get anything done at the range. When I take Andrew, my 5-year-old, to the range, I just assume that my whole goal is to teach him to shoot and to spend time with him. I don't plan on actually getting anything meaningful done as far as my skills or my training on my rifle. I just basically concentrate on taking care of him. Now, John, my 11-year-old, I can go to the range with him. I can set him up. We can talk about what he's going to do, and then I can let him do his own thing, and I can actually shoot. But the younger ones, it's still, my concentration is 100% on making sure that he's doing what he should be doing and that he is safe. So hopefully that will give you a little bit of idea of what to look for and some ideas of things that you can do. I'm sorry to hear that your 10-year-old has decided that the shooting sports aren't for her, but don't totally write her off. Maybe try a little bit every now and again to get her to go out with you. I understand if she's not really digging it, then don't push it on her. That can kind of backfire, but at least try to get her involved here and there. Her opinion may change later on, and you don't want to rob her of that. Finally, Jesse asks, how much does upper to lower receiver fit actually affect AR accuracy? If so, is there any merit to devices such as the AccuWedge? Thanks. Well, Jesse, if you would have asked me 5 or 10 years ago, I'd have told you it really doesn't matter a whole lot. I was used to shooting M16s that actually rattled like a coffee can full of bolts. When I started doing more precise AR work though, and actually started dry firing with ARs, I would notice that on ARs with a looser upper to lower fit, while I was dry firing, when I fired and that hammer struck the firing pin, the upper would move ever so slightly. Now when we think about how an AR is set up, everything that makes an AR accurate is in the upper receiver. The barrel, the bolt, the firing pin, the sighting system, all that is contained in the upper receiver. However, the lower receiver contains everything that connects the rifle to our body, the buttstock, the pistol grip, and then it contains the hammer as well. When you think of the firing chain of the AR, when you pull the trigger, it releases the hammer swings through an arc and then strikes the firing pin. If you have that rifle perfectly lined up, but there's loose upper to lower fit, when that hammer swings, there's inertia there that can cause movement. Then when the hammer strikes the firing pin, there's impact force that can cause movement. When the hammer strikes the firing pin and comes to rest, if it moves your point of aim incrementally, when the cartridge ignites and the bolt leaves the barrel, it's going to go to that last point the barrel was pointed before the bullet left. So that tiny bit of movement when the hammer strikes the firing pin is going to be translated to your group size opening up. So in that way of thinking, yes, upper to lower receiver fit does matter. Now I don't like products like the AccuWedge because I've seen them cause malfunctions in rifles. If that wedge comes loose and starts floating around, or sometimes the tip of the wedge will actually extend up and contact the bottom of the bolt carrier, which will then slow its speed. This can cause problems. They can fall out, they can get lost. So I just don't like to rely on a little piece of rubber in my rifle to provide the accuracy. What I much prefer is something like Mega Arms has done, where they have put an extra set screw with a nylon tip in the lower receiver that presses against the bottom of the bolt lug, or I'm sorry, the bottom of the rear upper receiver lug. When you screw this set screw in, when you're building the rifle, it will tighten that upper to lower fit up so you won't have any wiggle at all. And you can set the amount of tension. I mean, you can set that so it's so tight that you really have to cram that rear takedown pin through, or you can set it just light enough that there's no wiggle when you're driving it around with your hands. I don't think we really need to go to the point where I have to pound the takedown pin through, but I want it tight enough that it will not move at all if I grab the scope and grab the pistol grip and twist side to side. That's the amount of tension that I want in my ARs. Now, if you're building a national match or a bench rest AR, then you may go to the extra step of bedding the upper to lower receiver so that there is no movement at all and they are perfectly mated together when they're put together and that pin's driven through. But that's up to you to decide what degree of accuracy you need. So yes, I have come to believe that upper and lower fit does make a difference, and you can see that when you dry fire your rifle. You can actually see that reticle jump when the firing or when the hammer impacts the firing pin. If you're seeing that in your rifle, then you may consider tightening that upper to lower up if your shooting position is absolutely perfect. Well, that's all the questions that we have for this week. Again, I know this is an abbreviated episode, but we're trying to get things set up for the Oregon Sniper Challenge, and we're going to go over more information on that next week. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Also, don't forget to click that thumbs up, like our video, and please share the video with others. That will help our numbers go up, it'll help our subscribers go up, and it'll help us bring you more videos. Until next week, get out and shoot!